once the poll is over. So let me go ahead and get started. As you can see, Miriam and Jeannie are in the same room together. So not to be outdone, since they have a co-host, I now have a co-host as well. So this is Tucker. Tucker is not a research administrator. He just shows up from time to time as actually he's one of the investigators. But Tucker, you can go ahead and step away. Thank you. Okay. All right. Miriam Campo is the Assistant Vice President for Research and leads the Office of Sponsored Programs in the Division of Research at Florida Atlantic University. She is part of the Vice President for Research Advisory Committee and leadership team, and she is involved with strategic initiatives. Miriam created the Research Administrators Information Network, TRAIN, to bridge the communication gap between central administration and the research administrators in the colleges and departments. Miriam has mentored many individuals throughout her career and has a passion for growing the next generation of research administrators. Miriam has been published in the FAU OWL Research and Innovation magazine, the Incura Research Management Review, and in several Incura magazines. She has been a speaker at many conferences throughout her career. That's an understatement. Many, many, many conferences. And I always enjoy hearing Miriam. Also always enjoy hearing Jeannie. Jeannie Viviani is the Director of the Office of Research Development at Florida Atlantic University. She is responsible for promoting and managing the core research development function, including workshops, trainings, and finding funding for individual and institutional proposals. Early in her career, she founded and managed 2 sponsored research offices, one at a small prestigious liberal arts college and another at an engineering university, all from the ground up, including development programs, pre-award, compliance, research accounting, project closeout, and outreach to the community. Throughout her career, she has created and executed a variety of training and informational programs to exponentially increase grant applications and award volume at all the institutions she has served. She has been published in Sponsored Research Administration, A Guide to Effective Strategies and Recommended Practices, through the National Council of University Research Administrators, or NCURA, as well as numerous journal articles in NCURA's magazine. She's a frequent presenter and at conferences on a variety of topics related to research administration. So my 2 vivacious presenters, please unmute. I think you've already unmuted.
Yeah.
So Tucker and I are going to go off screen now.
We love Tucker. We love Tucker.
Thank you for bringing him along.
He's a big fan of yours.
And you introduced us, so I think we're kind of done here. So I don't know. I mean, what else is there? Other than Tucker can now entertain everybody. Awesome. Thank you, Jennifer. We miss you. We hope to see you soon. Stay healthy, stay safe. Wow. Where do we start? My gosh. Okay, we're ready to go, folks. Is everybody excited? Leadership, that's what we're going to talk about, right? Awesome.
So we are really thrilled to be here. I will tell you that Jeannie and I have presented together before, and we usually like to dance and we move around and do all sorts of fun stuff. We are going to try to contain ourselves since we're virtual, but we make no promises on that.
Right.
But we do want to have some fun with the presentation, and we want you all to participate as much as possible. So please send in your questions via the chat, or just raise your hand and we'll unmute you so that we can have more interaction.
Yeah.
So with that, let's dive into leadership.
Yeah, here we go.
So the first thing we want is we're going to have a survey question for everyone. So if you could please take this poll that we are launching right now and just answer, are you currently a leader or a manager?
Or if you don't know, you could also answer that way too. And the reason why we're starting off with a poll first without even talking about it is because we want to get a kind of a feeling of what everybody feels that they fall into. Do you feel you're a leader or just a manager, or you're not even sure because you're here to learn from us? So we'll give it about another, I don't know, 15 seconds. And Tucker says Tucker's uncertain. Yeah.
Well, Tucker, we may make up your mind for you after this presentation.
All right, looks like most of you all voted and it looks pretty even, but there's a lot of uncertainties out there. Let's share the results. So before you close out the polling results, you can kind of see that obviously leader is out there. So if we're presenting on leadership, why are 46 of you even here? You should be going out there doing leadership presentations yourselves, but hey, let's all learn from each other. That's what we all like. So let me stop sharing the results, and you can close down the poll so you can see our wonderful presentation here.
So Jeannie, the reason leaders are here
Yes, why are they
is
here?
for the same reason that you and I attend other leadership conferences.
That's right. That's right.
Because there is always more to learn. And you'll find through this presentation that is part of being a leader. Is you want to stay connected. You want to be out there and learn more things. So what is a leader? So based on some research that we have conducted and on our own experiences, so leaders are folks that set the direction. They build the vision for the office. They motivate and inspire the team. They build the team. Leaders always put others first. And you'll see later on, we have a little video we're going to show you, and it'll have the differences between a manager and a leader. Nothing wrong with being either or both.
Sometimes you have to be both.
You have to be both. But leaders are also, they create the right environment for their team. They make sure to provide all of the tools that the team requires. And something that is very important, I think, to keep in mind is that leadership is a choice. It is not a position. Just because someone is in a high level position does not make them a leader. I learned that many, many years ago. And I'm sure most of you have as well, that you could be a leader in any level of positions that you have. Right. So I mentioned the short video. The video is from Simon Sinek. And one of the quotes, and he may share it in this video, I don't remember because he does. Okay, so it's one of my favorite quotes where he says that leaders take care of those in their charge. Right. And that is a very true statement, and is very important. So we're gonna show you a very short video.
And just real quick on the chat, yes, Celeste, you can be a leader in any position. That's absolutely true. And Monique, yes, we agree as well that you can be both a leader and a manager. Sometimes you have to do both. Yeah, we love Simon Sinek too. So we're going to get to the next video. It's a nice little video, and I think it's, and we do provide links at the end of our presentation. So when you get the slide deck, you'll be able to check those out as well.
There are two things that I think that great leaders need to have: empathy and perspective. And I think these things are very often forgotten. Leaders are so often so concerned about their status, their position in an organization, they actually...
Oh, sorry.
Empathy and perspective. And I think these things are very often forgotten. Leaders are so often so concerned about their status, their position in an organization, they actually forget their real job. And the real job of a leader is not about being in charge, it's about taking care of those in our charge. And I don't think people realize this, and I don't think people train for this. When we're junior, our only responsibility is to be good at our jobs. That's all we really have to do. And some people actually go get advanced educations so that they can be really good at their jobs, accountants or whatever, right? And you show up and you work hard, and the company will give us tons and tons of training how to do our jobs. They'll show us how to use the software. They'll send us away for a few days to get trained in whatever it is that we're doing for the company. And then they expect us to go be good at our jobs. And that's what we do. We work very hard. And if you're good at your job, they'll promote you. And at some point, you'll get promoted to a position where we're now responsible for the people who do the job we used to do, but nobody shows us how to do that. And that's why we get managers and not leaders. Because the reason our managers are micromanaging us is because they actually do know how to do the job better than us. That's what got them promoted. Really what we have to do is go through a transition. Some people make it quickly, some people make it slowly, and unfortunately, some people will never make that transition at all. Which is we have to go through this transition of being responsible for the job and then turning into somebody who's now responsible for the people who are responsible for the job. And as I said before, one of the great things that is lacking in most of our companies is that they are not teaching us how to lead. And leadership is a skill like any other. It is a practicable, learnable skill. And it is something that you work on. It's like a muscle. If you practice it all the days, you will get good at it. You will become a strong leader. If you stop practicing, you will become a weak leader. Like parenting, everyone has the capacity to be a parent. Doesn't mean everybody wants to be a parent, and doesn't mean everybody should be a parent. Leadership is the same. We all have the capacity to be a leader. Doesn't mean everybody should be a leader, and it doesn't mean everybody wants to be a leader. And the reason is because it comes at great personal sacrifice. Remember, you're not in charge, you're responsible for those in your charge. That means things like when everything goes right, you have to give away all the credit. And when everything goes wrong, you have to take all the responsibility. That sucks, right? It's things like staying late to show somebody what to do. It's things like when something does actually break, when something goes wrong, instead of yelling and screaming and taking over, you say, try again. When the overwhelming pressures are not on them, the overwhelming pressures are on us. At the end of the day, great leaders are not responsible for the job. They're responsible for the people who are responsible for the job. They're not even responsible for the results. I love talking to CEOs and say, what's your priority? And they put their hands on their hips all proud and they say, my priority is my customer. I'm like, really? You haven't talked to a customer in 15 years. There's no CEO on the planet responsible for the customer. They're just not. They're responsible for the people who are responsible for the people who are responsible for the customer.
All right. So we want to discuss a little bit about the qualities then that make a great leader. And Simon actually hit a lot of things all at once in his video. And if you haven't, most people have heard of Simon Sinek, and if you haven't, just go Google him, get some videos out there because there's tons of awesome content out there. And he speaks to leadership. He talks about, personal growth. And I think it's a really important thing to always feed your mind that way. But to this particular point, the difference between leader and manager, he talks about skill training, right? And so we're in a profession where we're constantly upgrading our skill set, whether the skill set has to do with being better at a pivot table, or that skill set is understanding the OMB circulars a little bit more. Those are certainly skills that we all have to maintain and keep current. But the leadership skills you have to practice on a daily basis. So those are a little bit different. And it might have to do with your communication style. It might be asking for a project that's a little outside of your comfort zone. It might be stepping in to assist another team when you normally wouldn't. So those are things that, because he talks about leadership skills, like you can weaken the skill if you don't practice it, but he never really talks about what those skills are. So, those things have to do with taking care of other people. So even though he talks about caring for those in your charge, which is a great quote, it's also caring for people in your team. So they don't necessarily have to be in your charge, but it's caring for those people in the team. You can decide to be a leader. And if you don't want to be a leader, guess what? That is okay. There are plenty of people on our team that are just workers. They love what they do, but they really don't have an interest in getting out there and doing other things. But in their own right, they can do leadership that has to do with their own personal growth and setting goals for themselves. One thing I'm always impressed with what Miriam does with her team is she constantly tells them professional development doesn't matter what it is. Every little thing helps and can certainly build up that skill set. Also, and I always thought this was funny, is the fact that as you gain fame, there's another quote, a story that Simon Sinek was talking about, an admiral that whenever he was going out to conferences and talking, he was treated like 5-star, you know, here's the green room, here's this, here's that. But as soon as he was no longer an admiral, he was like, he got the coffee in the styrofoam cup. He was always humble, and the humility was always there. So even as you grow as a leader, always remember where you came from. Always having a clear vision is important too, about where you're headed, because we are in very high stress jobs, and considering what we're doing right now remotely, it adds more stress to it. So working to be able to, just because you're trying to work hard, that's really just called stress. But if you're working hard because it's something that you do love, that's called passion.
And you do have to have a lot of passion for what you do. It just makes, it just doesn't feel like work, honestly. So that is something, you know, an advice. If you're not passionate about what you do, find that passion, find that what makes you really excited, so that will make you an even better leader.
Right. Chris, that's a great quote. Always remember where you came from. That's a really good quote to always keep in mind for us in our profession. There was the 5 points on here for qualities that make a great leader. These are really, truly obvious. I think the one that is most difficult for most of us, unless you're an ESTJ like me, which the empathy thing I actually had to work on, but that's another story. Communication is really important, because we are in an era where we're using so many tools to communicate just basic information. But the communication we're talking about has to do with taking a moment to listen to your team, taking a moment to listen to other people's viewpoints on the projects that you're working on, and to really listen first before you talk. I can speak for myself that was something where I was always like, let's do this, let's do that. And I've learned, especially when you have a larger team, that you have to be able just to keep your mouth shut and hear the feedback first, because you can unfortunately kind of taint the way that the team interacts if they hear what you want to do first before that they would give their ideas first.
So if I could interject here, if you have a significant other, so I'll use my husband, who always wants to fix everything. Tucker, who always wants to fix everything for me, and I appreciate it. He's a wonderful person. He wants to make my life easier. But there are times I need him to just hush and listen, because I don't need him to fix it. I just need him to listen. So if you've ever experienced that on that end, think how your team feels, where when you speak first and you kind of outline the entire plan, and then they're sitting there going, okay, she's the boss. She just told us how it's going to be. So
that's right.
I'm going to zip it. I'm not going to say anything. So just kind of little things like that. That is that listening skill is really crucial.
Yeah, absolutely. And we all run into issues too at work where things don't go right as well. And I always want to bring up the integrity and trust one, especially Simon talked about giving credit to those individuals, also taking the responsibility though when things go wrong. There's another aspect of that when things go wrong. It's also publicly acknowledging that you made a mistake, not your team, not somebody else could have done this or that. It is that I apologize, we should have done this differently, but I made that call and I'm going to fix it, or let's fix it together. I'm looking for your help on that. There's nothing better than working in a team environment. And as a leader, that's what your team is expecting you to do. They don't expect you to do it all at once. That goes to the last bullet point, which Miriam and I are both have had to kind of get over, is that we have to delegate. Leaders delegate and give those opportunities to other people. And that is critical to building confidence in your team. And also, you're not a leader unless you have followers, right? So you have to be able to give them something to do with so that they can present to you that they've done good work as well.
I'll add one more thing on that, on the delegation. If you're listening and going, oh yeah, I do that, there's nothing wrong with it. We did it too. I did it too. I mean, I held on. I would not delegate. And many years ago, I was of the mindset of, you know what, if I just do it, it's going to get done faster, going to get done better, and I don't have to think about it.
Well, it was probably done better.
Well, no, I wouldn't say that, but that's what I used to think. But it took learning that does not make a leader. Obviously, that makes me being a micromanager, hanging on to things.
Right.
So this is why we're here.
Yeah.
So learn from each
I'm
other.
just gonna look at everything on here. Yep, Michelle, thanks for that quote, climbing the ladder. That's good.
I'll add a little bit to that, Michelle. Don't just leave the ladder there for the others, but pull them up with you.
Yeah.
Help them, come up with you.
Yeah, and that takes some doing, because some people take it as criticism, but it's really more about that you see value in them. And again, you can't assume that somebody's reading your mind when you're doing those particular things. Communicate. Right. And you're saying, I see excellent value in what you're doing, and I want to help you achieve better goals. And so that's always seen as a positive, rather than you can do better, which is not the same thing. So anyway,
I love that one too. The folks at the ground are holding the ladder steady.
Good one. Thanks,
That
Jennifer.
is, yep.
Thank you very much on that one. All right, so the next slide. This is Miriam's going to lead with this one.
This one's becoming a leader. So we talked a little bit about this already, right? So you have to invest in yourself. At some point, you do put yourself first in that you have to attain professional development. Reach out to others in those positions. People are really, really willing, especially in research administration. I have found that everybody really wants to help. So don't feel like you can't reach out to someone and, with questions or just, ask to have a mentor, to be a mentor. That's another presentation that we've done before, and it's crucial. I have several mentors. Jennifer is one of my mentors, and will forever be, whether she retires or not. I mean, I've learned so much from Jennifer. It's just amazing. Another point which we did touch on is do what you love. Find the love in what you do. Right. I mean, that's a yeah. It goes back to the quote that Jeannie said, working hard for something you don't care about is called stress. Working hard for something we love is called passion. Yeah. You gotta find your passion. Life throws a lot of stressors at us. If 2020 certainly showed that. So if you have passion in what you're doing in your work, you can overcome. You can overcome a lot of different things. Learning from others is both from a positive and a negative. So if you've heard me speak, I've told this story before, but it's really impacted my life. So when I started in research administration, I had a director that was not a very good person. And I was learning. I was, a coordinator, a grant specialist. I came up in the ranks like most of you did. And I was learning, and I was trying to learn from her. But I found more and more that the things that she would do or say, or the way she talked to the team, I didn't like. So I would read books and things like that. I was like, I don't like this. So I attribute to her the leader that I am today, only because I learned what not to do. I learned how not to treat people. I learned that it's a different world. You don't have to, just because, and I also learned the lesson of just because she was a director, she was not a leader. Right. So I started to kind of just move back, and I took what she was doing and started doing the opposite. And I was in a coordinator position, which was not, I didn't consider myself in a leadership position, because I also had the misconception that you had to be in this high level position to be a leader. But then more and more, the way I started treating my colleagues, they started coming to me instead of going to her. And they, so that's when it hit me. And I was like, oh, I don't have to be the boss to be a leader. And that's where I think where my leadership skills started. And it really started from doing or not doing what was being done to me. Right. So I say this because, it was powerful in my life. So take from the negative, learn from the negative. If you've experienced or are experiencing kind of negative, situation, learn from that. And then as soon as you can, move on. Right. Because it's not an ideal place that you want to, kind of stay.
And luckily we're in a profession where you can network with other people to provide that kind of support. so that even if you're feeling, you know, you're in that position where you have a boss, and I had a similar experience, but just not quite exact. But, you know, when you're looking for that support, like, am I crazy? Am I doing this? And am I doing it right? And really, you just need to go seek out as much support as you possibly can. Many times I reached out to people in California too. Sam Westcott at Caltech, Sue Rivera now, who's president of McAllister College. So, I mean, there was a bunch of people. Build your network that way. You know, for me, I was always an office of one or one plus. And Hannah Bode is on this call because she's my bestie. She's been with me for like 10, 11 years, but not in the same place. Actually, it's 13, right? Hannah, you'll correct me, I'm sure. But the reality of it is that even if you are in a very small environment, you can still be a leader. You just have to develop yourself. Leadership begins over 11 years. I think it's 13, but I don't know. You do the math, Hannah. But it has to do with improving yourself. And even if there's only one other person, which a lot of my career was only about managing or leading one other person, there's still a lot to be said for that dynamic, because you want to grow that individual. I always said that it would make me happier to know that a person who worked with me outgrew me and went above me or went out and did other things. That shows that, yeah, I did it right. I was able to lead that person and help them get to higher levels.
That is the greatest reward for me as well.
Mm-hmm.
When someone, you know, from my past kind of sends me an email or just says, hey, I just got a promotion, I wanted to let you know, or hey, you know, I just wrote an article. It just, I mean, it makes me really, really proud that I had a very small part, but I had a part in that, in building that individual. The other comment I want to make though about leadership is that you don't only have to be a leader to the folks that report to you. You know, I consider myself a leader to others. To, you know, they don't have to work for me. They don't have to be in my unit, but I still share my experiences, and I still help them in any way. So, you know, keep that in mind as well, that even like Jeannie, who only had one individual under her, Jeannie's a leader to others. I mean, she knows how to manage the others and how to share that knowledge that she has.
I just have a big mouth, and most people know that, but that's all right. I'm good with that. Lizzie, I wanted to look at some of the comments too, because I see that, yep, Hannah does the work, 10 people, that's for sure. Sarah, absolutely. You have to love what you do. You can always like not love certain parts, but that's okay. Let's see, Courtney, thanks. The greatest gift of leadership is a boss who wants you to be successful. Thank you, Stiljana. That's a great quote. Great
Absolutely,
quote.
I love that.
Yeah. All right, so now we've kind of talked about becoming a leader, and just remember, last point on that is that you don't want to look at this as a checklist. This isn't about just, I have to do this, this, and this, and therefore I shall be a leader. It doesn't necessarily work that way. And even if you work the hardest you can work at wanting to improve yourself, sometimes it just you might face other challenges. You could have home life issues that prevent you from being the best that you can be. Never beat yourself up. You know, if you're taking daily steps, that you've already won the game, because you're doing something every day to improve upon yourself, to think about communicating that one email before you hit send, because I have to do that a lot.
I think we all do.
And that's, you know, that's checking yourself in terms of your communication, and that's real important. So just remember, it's not just necessarily it's not a checklist that you're going to do certain things and then you'll become a leader. It's consistency. Okay. I have you doing this one too.
You do. Wow. Wow. Thanks, Jeannie.
We have notes. I'm going to let you lead on this.
Thank you. So being a leader.
You're all week.
She cracks me up. I love presenting with her. I hope you guys are having fun.
I should be walking around.
I know. We'll definitely next time we'll do it in person. So there are some things that have worked for me throughout my career. Identifying talent in others. That's very important as now being the leader. So those of you that are already leaders that are in this presentation, I mean, these are things that it's just crucial So if somebody didn't help me when I was moving up in my leadership, or gaining my leadership skills, I wouldn't be here presenting. Somebody really, and it moves also to challenge, right? So somebody really challenged me because I was terrified of speaking in public, terrified, terrified. Like I would spend 2-3 days without sleeping the night before, knowing that I had to just stand up and do a 5-minute presentation to even my colleagues, not just as wide as this. But somebody took a chance on me and somebody challenged me. I won't tell you the story because it can get lengthy, but he actually tricked me into it. But hey, it worked, right? So here I am.
Yes,
but
as a leader, you have to be tricky too.
you have to be tricky too. So I have done that for others. There are, public speaking is a fear of a lot of people. And one of the ways that you can help someone overcome that is by speaking with them, do it with them. But you take the lead in that presentation, let them stand there and kind of be with you. Baby steps, do it in an office setting, have them present. If they go to a conference, have them talk to the colleagues, different things like that. That's just one example. I mean, there's so many different talents out there, and definitely identifying the talent in others is something a leader needs to be able to do. Providing ownership of a project. We talked about this a little bit already, right? So give someone the lead, make them lead on a project. Let them feel like you trust them. I trust you to lead this project. I'm here to help, I'm here to guide, but this is your project. So again, letting go of that micromanaging that it's so easy to fall back on. Right. It really is. Even to this day, when things are sent to me from my vice president, my first instinct is, oh, my vice president sent it to me, I have to drop everything and do this. And then I step back and go, oh no, I can delegate that to this person because I need help too. And they can then take, the ownership of it. Yeah. Now, what that means is that when that whatever report or work goes back to my boss, even if I send it, I will let him know who did it, because I need to give credit to that individual. Now, if it comes back and let's say something was wrong, then like Simon said in his video, it's my responsibility. I take the blame for it. I take the responsibility to say, okay, yeah, we missed that. We'll redo it and whatever goes. So again, providing that ownership to give others the ability to be leaders. We talked about challenges, providing opportunities, professional development. I'm not even looking at my notes. Am I missing something?
No, you're just
okay. I'm just going on. I am. You know why I'm excited? Because I love, and I'll share something personal in a minute, really personal in a minute. But yeah, so personal. But I love leading. I love helping others succeed. Right. So, so this is really personal, right? So those of you that know me know that I do not have kids. That wasn't by choice. Okay. So I wanted to have kids. I just couldn't. And I had someone tell me one day, many years ago, oh, don't worry that you can't have kids. You'll leave your mark in the world in other ways. When you're going through something as drastic as learning that you cannot have kids when you really wanted it, that just threw me for a loop. It really did. Because to me, it was somebody was telling me that you're not good enough. And now you have to find how you're going to leave your mark on the world. So, and I've never shared this with anybody, to be honest. It is a private moment, but I love you guys. Research administrators are my team, right? Oh, so anyway, so it took me a long time, right? And then it was like, I've always had passion for research administration. It's my world. I love it. I'll do anything for it. And then I realized, well, that is how I'm leaving my mark in this world, right? So I take, this is why I get so excited about this type of presentations, because I take tremendous pride in helping others. So the title of this presentation to me was like ideal, right? So I want to help that next generation of leaders. Anyway, sorry, a little more. It wasn't in my notes. I was not planning on sharing that, but I love you guys. So.
And that's and just to see people be successful that you've mentored, right? And so and don't let Miriam fool you. It's not just research administration. She does a lot of other outreach, and we should send you the article of what she did over this whole COVID thing, where she created an entire program where she has a team now of undergrads and grads and other people at the university writing letters to those who are stuck in nursing homes to make sure that they're still feel the connection, right? So leadership doesn't have to be about research administration.
No,
we all love it. We all love it. I get it. We want to strangle a couple PIs. I can go into another discussion about that one later, but it's about leading from the heart. And that's what Miriam's doing, right? So it's not only the research administration, the people on her team who I see step up time and time again because of her mentoring, but it's her showing the way of how else you can be out there and proactive in the community. And we should really show you that article. She was written up in the local paper and everything.
Now she's gonna make me cry. Not only did I share something personal, now I'm gonna cry in front of everybody.
Because I don't want people to think like you're, like, well, I invested in research administration.
No, I
your
understand.
part is like, well, so.
And I appreciate that, and thank you for saying that. Yes, I do try my very best to help others in any possible way.
Right.
So that goes to empowering others.
Yeah.
And thank you for all the notes. My God, those, I'm gonna have to save those for my bad days. So yes, I don't know how to save that chat, but I'm definitely, thank you so much for everybody's comments. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, it was. It's a great. We'll try to send that link out a little bit later, but yes, empowering others. But now we've talked a lot about good stuff, right? We have really talked about, get out there, be a leader, make goals, right? And then all of a sudden you're like, but what about this?
Yeah.
And, when Miriam and I had already done this presentation to some undergrads and graduate students here at FAU, we kind of took a step back and kind of looked at our slides. We're like, yeah, they make sense for research administrators. But in these pitfalls still actually have more application to us as professionals than just necessarily telling some undergraduate students or graduate students. But I do want to focus in on the being insecure. And I don't want people to think like insecurity from the standpoint of, well, I just don't feel comfortable talking in front of a crowd or things like that. Those are symptoms to an underlying issue. And the underlying issue, and if anybody's ever heard of it, is imposter syndrome, right? So when you're taking on leadership positions, the notion that you're in a meeting and you are a skilled professional and you don't want to say anything because you feel as if everybody else in the room knows more than you, that is a big deal. And that's a big deal in our profession because we really know our stuff. Sometimes it's a little hard to communicate it. So we feel like, well, maybe I shouldn't say anything in a group setting. And that's why also being a leader is encouraging your team to speak up as frequently as possible rather than you assuming that you know the answer. So I want you all to ask yourself this question. Do you or do you not know the information in your sphere, in what you do, whether it be compliance or post-award or pre-award? Do you or do you not know what the answer is? If you do know the answer, would you speak up at a professional conference like here at FRAC? Would you have a conversation or listen to a thing and raise your hand and discuss that particular issue because you're with like-minded people? If you can do those things, you can do those things in your workplace and in your meetings. And it's just a personality issue in terms of people who might come in and be more authoritarian and might come in and want to like run a meeting. Speaking up because you are a professional, I think will give you opportunities to explore that leadership that you didn't have before. So a pitfall is just being insecure or feeling like imposter syndrome. Let's see here. So you don't want to limit yourself on that. Failing to recognize and appreciate others. I think that by and large, this profession is really about encouraging other people. In very rare cases have I been in situations or have heard about situations where it's not in a good place. Sometimes it's not within research administration. I mean, Miriam's example is, I think, pretty rare, but it also taught her to be who she is in her field. But it could be even subtle, in terms of not being able to appreciate others on your team because the work gets so hectic. And so if you start failing to recognize individuals, that could also be a pitfall. You want to do some of the other ones?
Sure. So talking about, lacking authenticity, you have to be true to yourself. You have to be true to your word. It's important that you, as Jeannie has it, walk the talk. It's true. I mean, folks will not take you seriously, and they will not see you as a leader if you say one thing and do another, if you promise something and then don't deliver. It's truly important to be authentic.
Right. Micromanaging, we've talked about that, because when you get and I've always been a even as a director, I've been a director of one or two. So micromanaging is not something I can say that I've done a lot of, although I do. Actually, I just had my assistant director tell me just the other day, because we have a conversation. I said, sure. I said, sure. What's going on? What can I do for you? She goes, no. She goes, what can I do for you? Why are you choosing to take on some of these things? You can give those to me. And it was just one of those, again, communication, because she felt comfortable enough to be able to say to me, you gotta delegate some of this stuff to me. I'm like, you're absolutely right. And it hurts, because in some way I feel like I should be able to do it all and take care of my team, because some of the things that we're working on are really, really big. But that again goes back to, I'm not micromanaging, but I'm not delegating, right? So would I micromanage? No, I don't have time to micromanage. I would never micromanage. But even as leaders, we do have to review the work that goes out the door. So just like if you're a leader of one, you have to review your own work and make sure it's the best quality that's going out there. And that's not micromanaging. That's just making sure you have quality product that's going out there. But yeah, I was brought to task by my assistant director.
But I'll make a point to that, though. The fact that your assistant director felt comfortable enough to come to you and say, hey, let me help.
Yeah.
I can help. That is a great communication between the two of you. So that's also very important to keep in mind. You want the folks that work with you to feel comfortable enough to walk into your office and say, hey, I can do this for you, or hey, I have that confidence and know that you're not going to go, no, this is mine, mind your business or anything like that, because that just doesn't work. So that, it's an excellent point brought up.
Dion, yes, managing up. And I have to manage up too, a lot. You have to manage up too.
Yes,
yeah.
We do.
Yeah, we do. But we love our team. We love our team. So, and finally, just doing the work yourself, which again goes back to whether it be delegating, micromanaging, I'll just do it myself. Those are definitely pitfalls that you want to avoid when it comes to trying to exercise your leadership vision and your skills. Okay. We're almost there. We're almost there. We have this planning for success. There's a lot of people handle goal setting their own ways. These are just really brief ways of integrating goal setting that if you don't normally do it, you've got to plan for your success, for your leadership. You can't just say, well, I'm going to do some professional development. Write it down, set a goal, make it concrete, do tiny, tiny steps. Even like an example would be, I want to read more, this year, right? Well, you don't just start off by getting a book and saying, I'm going to read it in a week. 15 minutes, plan it, write it down, read that book for 15 minutes. Set it when you've checked it off. That checking off, by the way, they've linked to like endorphins in your brain and serotonin that you can go, I checked something off of the list, especially if you're a list person like me.
And
right?
me.
Right. And so write it down, set that goal, and then you can also do it within certain time frames. So create the list, seek guidance. I mean, Miriam is a huge advocate for mentoring. I'll let you talk about the mentoring.
I am, and there are programs out there. So, and I know, for some, it's a little difficult to approach someone to say, hey, can you be my mentor?
Except Jennifer Shambrook.
Except Jennifer, absolutely. She'll take on everybody. She's awesome, and so will I. I will never say no to helping or mentoring someone. But there are programs out there. So SRAI has the Odyssey Mentor-Mentee program. It started last year. I was thrilled to be selected as one of the mentors last year, and I just got assigned, paired up with another mentee for this year. That Miriam is my mentor. Carly, thank you. Carly was my mentee for last year's Odyssey program.
Yeah.
Now the program was a year and has ended, but Carly and I are together forever now, or as long as Carly wants me, and as long as I can help. So it's just, I mean, it's really special, and I get a lot out of it being a mentor, and the satisfaction of knowing that I'm there to guide someone, to help someone.
Right.
So I am really absolutely get out there and talk to folks. It goes into networking.
Yeah.
Networking is ideal. And I just recently, when we were preparing for this presentation, I mentioned to Jeannie that when early on, I was a very shy person. I know, hard to believe, but I would go to the conferences and I would not network. I was petrified of just going up to someone and say, hey, my name is Miriam, I work, I just couldn't do it. So it took me a few years to kind of get out of that. And honestly, the rest of the story is I one day got home from a conference and my husband said, so how many people did you meet? Back then, we were still in the business card world. And he goes, how many business cards did you get? And I was like, none. What are you talking about? And he's like, oh, no, none. We don't have none of that.
Right.
We need to change that if this is going to be your career, if you want to grow.
Right.
So just, network. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I've struggled with networking.
Oh, yeah, right.
The joke for me is my very first Encura conference was, I was like, I want to volunteer and do something. And they're like, you could be the room monitor. And I went, great. And I was like a bouncer. I was like making sure people were coming into the room. Are you region 3? Because I'm region 3. You have to be region 3. I mean, it was pretty hysterical. I mean, I got labeled for that. But I talk a lot, as anybody who knows me knows that well. But when you're alone in an office or you only have one other person, you need to have that networking capability, because I don't always have the answer. I need the answers from other professionals. How did you operationalize your effort reporting? How did you operationalize your compliance, your post-award management? Do you really need a routing form? Things that I would never have thought that a lot of people would not normally ask, I would ask because I had no idea being a director of one. So network, get the information and figure that out for yourself. The answer is, this is what we all know about research administration. We all know the answer is, it depends. So network, that really certainly helps you. All right. So now we're going to go to our last poll. All right. And I'm going to, let's see here, go to this poll here, launch polling. So now we've talked about, what do you want to do first on your path to leadership? We just kind of want to get a sense of, what do you think would be the first thing you should do for you? Looks like we got some. We have
some action here.
We got some introverts, and we'll make a list first. I better see some networking going on in there.
There's some.
Talk to people.
And here's the thing. You can reach out to us just to also get some pointers on how to find a mentor. We don't have to be your mentor, but we're glad to help with those skills and getting you there and out there. So
right. Let me end the polling. I'm going to share the results. Yeah, a lot of you like the action plan list. So that's what we're going to recommend that you do. Write it down today after FRAC. Whatever you learned today, all the great presenters that are presenting at FRAC, pick one thing, reach out, maybe research something if you really don't want to talk to somebody yet. But of course, we're like networking, but do that one thing, write that list and do that one thing and get it done today before the end of the day, because you'll thank yourself later for doing that. All right, so you can shut the poll there.
Yeah, so we're really at the end of our presentation. We want to share some books that we have read and that we recommend. Again, books are not for everyone, so go to the next slide.
So the next slide.
Find what you love. Find what the passion.
Right.
So we have some inspirational videos.
Sinek.
I love Sinek. I mean, Simon Sinek. I mean, there are a lot of others out there, not to put anybody down, but he is fabulous. Yeah. And we had a hard time choosing the video for today because there were others that we liked, but they were like 10 minutes long. I was like, no, we can't have people sit through 10 minutes of video and not have our awesomeness.
That's right. That's right. Don't take our thunder,
Our
Simon.
right. But please, that there's lots of information out there.
Right. Now,
And-
we kind of went over a little bit, but we're open to, oh, Brene Brown too, Jennifer. Yeah, I love Brene Brown, especially if you are on vulnerability, because a lot of what we're talking about is about vulnerability and being at risk in front of your team of not looking perfect. This, by the way, the whole point of this is it is not about perfection at all.
Absolutely not.
At all. We are going to learn along the way. Always though maintain empathy and always maintain your integrity, and you will always be a leader.
And listen.
And listen.
And listen.
Absolutely. Such
So
an energetic.
I
Thank
haven't
you.
been able to keep up with
Oh,
all of the
I know.
chat, so I'm not sure if there's just
Yeah,
questions
just like,
out there.
we need to start a network for introverts. But who would start it though?
Gee, you can start it.
It's like, I'll be the extrovert that leads the
That leads the
introverts.
introverts.
Yeah. So that's good. Ooh, so many people. So many people. So many people.
So we'll definitely.
And there was one question that came up with a couple of people wanting to know which is better, SRA or Incura.
Oh,
Honestly, if you can manage it, because they're expensive, if you can manage it, either one of them, in my opinion, is wonderful. I've gained so much. You two are part of what I've gained. I've gained so much.
I agree.
You gather them
I
up.
agree with that comment. When I started early on in my career, I was just an Incura member, mostly because that's what the office kind of was, you know, that's where they went. And then I branched out and went to SRA. I'm lucky enough to be able to maintain both memberships, and I cannot attend. I mean, financially, I cannot attend all of both, but I alternate. So if you haven't tried either one, just select one, and then maybe the following year select it, go to the other. That's my recommendation.
Yeah.
And you yourself can find if there's one better. But honestly, they're all as great as FRAC.
That's right. FRAC is the only thing you need now. That's it. That's it. No more.
So I know we are almost out of time. Yes, Tucker, thank you for joining us. That was fabulous. We are almost out of time, but we will. Is there a way to copy all those chats so that we can see if there's any comments or anything to respond back to you guys?
I need the chat
I
window.
think there is a way. I'll see if I can figure it out.
So, and any questions, our contact information is there. Feel free. We're happy to talk, video chat, email,
We're
however.
happy to talk.
We are.
Yeah, we are.
We are. I'm
We
on
are.
a roll
We're
today.
happy.
The rest of today is gonna be like, oh, because I want more of this. Jennifer, we should have had 2 hours for
That's
our
right.
session.
That's right. We should have.
I mean, but really, we thank you all very much for attending. And we thank Jennifer and Celeste and the entire team for putting such a fabulous presentation together. So really quickly, this year, I made my word fabulous.
Fabulous.
And I did send out to my train listserv at FAU to be fabulous this year. And every month I'm sending them an email and I want them to tell me 5 things that they have, 5 fabulous things they have done. So pick a word, make it your own, have fun this year.
And by the way, if you're ever feeling down too, do jazz hands. Everybody do jazz hands.
Yeah, that works.
Do jazz hands. Woo!
All right, guys. Enjoy the rest of the sessions.
Thank you. Thank you. And so now do you see why Tucker and I were so excited? And I think that I can feel pretty confident that those folks out in California that at the crack of dawn to be here this morning got their money's worth. This session. So thank you so much. This concludes this session, and we're going to have more sessions coming up. Our next